Victimhood, especially when it's false, is not a great advertisement for leadership. Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me. Look, ladies, I know this isn't fair, but we're all always running against the worst cliche of who people think we are. Women Democrats can't look oversensitive or preachy or unable to laugh at themselves. They also can't look silly, like Gretchen Whitmer did, trying to hide in the Oval Office. They have to look brave and strong.
Bill Maher is strongly calling out Democratic Party leaders for losing focus on their real job, motivating voters and winning elections. He believes the leadership is wasting time on minor issues while ignoring the bigger political picture. On his show, Maher openly expressed his anger in a sharp and brutal critique.
There is no argument here. There's just the sugar rush that the no-contact people get from never coming in second in a I hate Trump the most contest. Really? That's your strategy, to go full high school and tell the guy with all the power he can't sit with you at the lunch table? To borrow a phrase familiar to HBO viewers, you are not serious people. I mean, what exactly is the argument? That by talking to Trump, I'll elevate him? Oh my God, don't tell me he could become president. Well, I guess Donnie is going to elevate Trump because he went to the White House today, and look who's getting along now.
The Democratic Party has quietly embraced an attitude of refusing to engage with Trump or anyone who supports him, and Bill Maher this approach completely ridiculous. He argues that politics isn't like blocking someone on social media. You can't win elections by ignoring half the country. Building a movement requires conversation, not retreating into an ideological bubble. Maher says this strategy isn't about principles. It's about political immaturity. Excluding voters who disagree won't erase them. It only ensures they'll never be persuaded. While Democrats focus on moral purity, Republicans are out there actively campaigning and growing their base. Maher warns that what Democrats see as virtue often looks like arrogance to ordinary voters. If the party wants real power again, it must stop treating disagreement as betrayal and start doing the most basic thing in democracy, talking to people.
MBS was at the White House this week. Biden thought he could cut him off, but a year later he found out he couldn't. There's no perfect way to deal with Trump, but not engaging is for sure nothing. Axios wrote a column in August entitled 11 Ways to Influence Trump, based on many interviews with people who have done that. Number 8, get face-to-face. The trick is getting in the room, away from cameras and social media. Trump will say or write horrible things, but rarely in person, one-on-one, where he comes off kinder, more interested, less erratic. Exactly. And there's a bunch of examples of this. Most recently, the CEO of Intel, who Trump was hating on, but then he met in person and now he's a great...
Maher is highlighting a harsh reality. Shutting out Trump and his supporters doesn't reduce their influence, it strengthens it. Each time Democrats refuse to engage, that movement becomes more visible, more unified, and more motivated. Maher argues that silence isn't a sign of moral high ground, it's a strategic failure. When a political party stops speaking to those who disagree, it doesn't win them over, it gives up on them. Democracy works through persuasion, not avoidance. By rejecting opposing voices, Democrats fuel resentment and push undecided voters further away. Rather than broadening their coalition, they narrow it, locking themselves into an ideological bubble where disagreement is seen as disloyalty. Maher warns this approach doesn't just drive away conservatives, but also moderates and working-class voters who once supported the party. The end result is a party that feels closed off, confrontational, and increasingly out of touch with everyday people.
Gonna send the National Guard to San Francisco, but somebody talked him out of that. Kim Kardashian, for fuck's sake, convinced him to sign legislation. Don't you get it? Do you really not get it at this point? Everything with him is done through personal relationships. He's a people guy. Trust me, he's not at home at night poring over the briefing books. This is government by people is saying. If anything, we need more people like me having dinner with him. You complain he's surrounded by ass-kissers, but your strategy is to make sure no one but ass-kissers are around him? You are not serious people.
Donna Brazil sits there as Maher tears into the DNC leadership, and his point is hard to dismiss. He argues that the only effective way to challenge Trump and the MAGA movement isn't through shaming, canceling, or moral lectures, but through direct engagement. You can't defeat a political force by acting like it doesn't exist. You weaken it by speaking to the people who support it. Maher stresses that real political change is built on human connection, not social media outrage or ideological isolation. Progress happens through dialogue, not dismissal. When a party pushes away voters who disagree, it doesn't look courageous, it looks insecure. Driving people out only deepens division and hardens resistance. Maher's message is simple: if Democrats want to win again, they must stop talking about Trump supporters and start talking with them. Conversation isn't giving in, it's the smartest way to compete.
Perpetuating victimhood, especially when it's false, is not a great advertisement for leadership. Kamala Harris's new memoir of the 24 election is called 107 Days, but it should have been called Everyone Sucks But Me.
Maher also points to another key reason the DNC leadership keeps letting its supporters down: its refusal to take responsibility for losing. Instead of serious self-criticism, party leaders have chosen to shift the blame. One after another, major Democrats point fingers at everything except their own decisions. Whether it's the voters, the media, or flawed messaging, the excuses keep changing. Maher argues that this lack of accountability is why the party keeps repeating the same failures. An election loss should lead to honest reflection, not denial. If leaders won't admit where strategy went wrong or how they lost touch with voters, real progress is impossible. Maher warns that a party afraid to admit mistakes loses its ability to grow. Accountability isn't a liability, it's what builds trust. And until Democrats stop blaming everyone else and start looking inward, the DNC will keep drifting further from the people it claims to speak for.
It is a victim's title because, get it, she only had 107 days to win. Yeah, and $1.5 billion and a built-in army of about 75 million people who'd vote for any human-adjacent life form that wasn't Trump. But in 107 days, nothing is ever Kamala's fault. Biden lets her down by not stepping down sooner. Pouty face emoji.
Kamala Harris ended up distancing herself from the very person who gave her a national platform. Biden had many choices for vice president: Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, even AOC, but he selected Harris, instantly moving her from the Senate to the center of U.S. politics. That single decision reshaped her career. Yet after the election loss, Biden is now being portrayed as the main reason she failed. Maher challenges that narrative. How does blaming the person who elevated you help the party improve? Instead of confronting mistakes in strategy, communication, or voter outreach, responsibility is pushed upward. Maher argues this constant search for scapegoats damages party unity and makes leadership look unserious. Real progress doesn't come from rewriting the story or turning on allies. It comes from accepting mistakes and learning from them. And that can't happen if leaders refuse to take responsibility for their own failures.
Gavin Newsom, he was asked for his endorsement, but texted, "Hiking, we'll call back." But then never did. And then he didn't even ask her to prom. America itself lets Kamala down by not being ready for the running mate she really wanted, Pete Buttigieg. So she's stuck with the Home Depot paint salesman. And the rest is herstory. Poor
Maher says Harris didn't stop with blaming Biden, she expanded the list. She reportedly criticized Gavin Newsom for not backing her presidential run, as if an endorsement from the California governor would have guaranteed victory. Maher calls this thinking detached from reality. Endorsements don't decide elections, voters do. And the blame didn't end with party figures. Harris allegedly implied that she would have preferred Pete Buttigieg, but claimed the country simply wasn't ready for him. To Maher, that mindset perfectly reflects what's wrong with the party. When politicians lose, instead of examining their own failures, they assume the public is at fault. Maher argues this attitude is politically destructive, suggesting that voters are too ignorant or too biased to choose correctly only breeds resentment. You can't win people back by talking down to them, and you can't lead a nation you refuse to understand.
On election night, when it was clear she lost, an aide peeled the words "Madam President" off the cupcakes before handing them out. Oh, geez, that's like a scene from Bridget Jones Runs for President, for Christ's sake.
Maher says Harris even went so far as to blame her own campaign team for the loss, which sounds ridiculous but, according to him, actually happened. Rather than accepting responsibility, she reportedly pointed fingers at nearly everyone except herself. Staffers, organizers, and communication teams became easy targets once the defeat was clear. But Maher argues this misses a basic truth. Leadership means taking ownership. Critics say Harris adopted highly ideological positions that didn't connect with a broad range of voters. Her messaging often failed to resonate with working-class Americans or moderates, who felt lectured instead of engaged. She avoided tough questions, rarely spoke off-script, and relied on polished talking points that felt empty. Maher insists these weren't staff mistakes, they were candidate mistakes. Campaigns don't fail because volunteers make small errors. They fail when voters don't trust the message or the person delivering it. And until that reality is accepted, Maher warns the party will keep confusing accountability with disloyalty and repeating the same losses.
This isn't fair, but we're all always running against the worst cliche of who people think we are. Women Democrats can't look oversensitive or preachy or unable to laugh at themselves. They also can't look silly, like Gretchen Whitmer did, trying to hide in the Oval Office. They have to look brave and strong. It wasn't a good look for the woman party that all the guys were speaking out for Jimmy Kimmel when Trump went after him, except on the Woman Show, where for 5 days the outspoken hosts were suddenly as quiet as a geisha.
Maher also turned his attention to The View, criticizing the hosts for staying silent when their voices were needed most. He didn't hold back. According to him, these high-profile media figures failed to publicly respond during key moments, including the controversies surrounding Jimmy Kimmel. When the comedian faced cancellation, the hosts reportedly said nothing, neglecting to defend free speech or call out perceived unfair treatment. Maher's critique was pointed. They only spoke up after Kimmel's suspension proved temporary and public outrage had died down. To him, this reflects a broader pattern in media and politics: caution over conviction. Waiting until it's safe to act does nothing to promote justice or integrity. Maher argues that real influence requires courage, and passivity in critical moments erodes both credibility and impact. Ultimately, his message is unambiguous. The Democratic Party is faltering because it avoids accountability, alienates voters, and blames everyone but itself. From Kamala Harris pointing fingers at Biden, her staff, and even the public, to party leadership ignoring Trump supporters, the result is a party trapped in an echo chamber. Maher insists that progress comes from dialogue, building personal connections, and honest self-reflection, not moral posturing or opportunistic silence. Until Democrats confront their own missteps, engage with voters, and speak boldly when it matters, they risk staying irrelevant and losing touch with the very people they aim to represent. And with that, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.